Hey everybody, just a quick message from Bald and Bonkers Network. We would like to remind everybody that certain topics of discussion may not be comfortable for all listeners. Certain viewpoints may not reflect those of our partners, sponsors, affiliates, our hosts, or that of our guests. We would like to encourage everybody to keep a respectful and open climate of discussion for all topics, no matter how disturbing they may be. So viewer discretion is advised.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a brand new year and the world is getting crazier than ever before. And there's only two idiots who know best to bring it to you. Join Christopher Mole and Dakota Francis every week on the Bald and Bonkers Show. You never know what's going to happen.
You ready?
I thought you were getting ready to do it.
I know, there you go. I know you like to treat you now and again, you know.
I don't know. It's like, what, you gonna get ready to start something?
No, I was sitting here ready, you know.
I don't know. You just had that look like you were getting ready to say something. I was like, all right, asshole.
No, that's my Sean Connery look.
Anyway, that's a nice blue steel, though. Anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode of the Bald and Bonkers Show. You know, Chris, I got to admit, last night when we were on with the Portal to the Paranormal, that got to be a little bit more interesting than I was anticipating.
It was, and it was quite interesting because we learned a few things about them, that they might have connections with our ET friends, you know. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for. We're actually going back, ladies and gentlemen. We're actually going back next week, next Friday. So that'll be very, very interesting to see which. I think we're going to be talking about spirits next week because we didn't really get into that, did we?
Yeah, the second we got into the UFO topic, and the reason why they brought Jen from the Emerald Isle Paranormals, yeah, Emma from Sharon Rectory. I know she runs with them quite a bit, so. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got all sorts of friends, and none of them are anywhere near me. So
I know it's terrible. See, that's the thing. They come here to listen to my amazing accent. Do you know what she was talking about? My accent, see?
Can't help it. I got to admit, we got Nando. Sounds like he's more from England. We have Scotland. We have Ireland. And we have lonely American over here. So, interesting little mix of accents, and I'm surprised I could understand anything that she was saying.
Actually, because I'm Scottish, obviously, I could understand her 100%. Because the Scots and the Irish play a part, both Celtic, you know.
Yeah. I understand that, and maybe it's because I figured out how to.
And you're an American, indeed, sir. Indeed. Well, that just sounds.
I still say that sounds like a slave from a plantation, man.
Slaves don't sound like that. They didn't sound like that.
No, but that's like the stereotypical. Oh yes, sir. I agree, sir. Yes, master. Basically, they're trying to make themselves sound prim and proper so they don't get freaking lynched. Yeah, and I'm not saying that to be racist. Before anybody tries to say shit.
Terrible, Dakota. Terrible. Please send your emails to the Bald and Bonkers website. There will be a contact link in there. If you have any complaints about my co-host Dakota, please leave a message
about
below.
Me. About you're the one that usually starts the most shit.
Look, I never get any bad emails. I'm a good person, a good-hearted soul.
Motherfucker, the number of times I've seen you purposely stir up gossip just to get a rise out of people.
Did you hear about this person? Ooh, did you hear about this one?
That's why there's been a couple of times when we've had shit get stirred up trying to aim at each other.
Blame it me. Imagine blaming it me.
Yeah, no, they tried looking at you saying that I'm looking to replace you. I thought about maybe doing like a Bald and Bonkers US and UK at one point, but I don't know. Maybe we do that down the line.
Maybe.
But here's the issue. You don't find two idiots that meld together as well as we do. Which is a miracle considering we never actually physically met.
You've got I've got the handsomeness, and you've got the madness. What more could you possibly want? A poll, ladies and gentlemen. Please send your emails into Balding Bonkers. Is that the website, Balding Bonkers? As I'm sure Dakota will pop it in the chat for you. You will see a contact thing. What one of us do you think is the most handsomest?
Yes,
I'll be
ladies and
beginning. I'll
gentlemen,
be beginning on my women pals tonight, saying tell
in order to raise funds for the Balding Bonkers documentary, we are going to be issuing online dating services where we will auction off Christopher for you to utilize and probe to your heart's content for 1 week straight. Be all yours to the highest bidder and watch it only be like
I don't think you'll get
cents.
that much from me though. I think you'll probably get about what 5 cents, something like that.
I wouldn't even say that much.
What about Dakota, ladies and gentlemen? I think baldingbonkers.net, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any complaints about the show, please send Dakota here a message. There'll be somebody there going, I don't like the fact that you don't have hair. I'm telling you, there was somebody there that doesn't like us because we don't have hair.
Yeah, people are that pathetic these days.
Yeah. There you go. So, Dakota, what have you been doing this amazing week that we've been away since we last seen each other? Well, no, actually, because we're on shows, but what have you been doing all week?
Oh, I honestly don't feel like I should be saying too much right now because we're still kind of in the cleanup of the situation. But unfortunately, this morning, there's by the time most people actually see this, hopefully everybody's bouncing back. But thoughts and prayers appreciated. Those of you who know me don't know I usually don't ask for that type of thing, but just a little after 7:30 this morning, my time, I ended up receiving a phone call that my grandmother and 16-year-old cousin have been in a rollover accident. It looks like I've been watching, we have Life 360 to kind of help keep track of each other when the weather gets bad. I've been watching that all day. They rolled severely enough to where the roof of the car collapsed in on them. My grandma's banged up pretty bad. She almost got ejected. Apparently, she had to physically drag her legs back into the car because they rolled so hard. Bumps and bruises. They're working. Last update I got was about a couple hours ago that they are working on getting her stable. So, tonight's show almost didn't happen.
Hopefully, in our prayers that she'll be okay. I've got a feeling she'll be fine.
Yeah, that woman's too stubborn to go down.
So, Dakota, what strange news do you have for us tonight? Well, I mean, I've got some here ready to go, but you want to go with yours first?
Well, I wanted to kind of discuss. I guess we should open it like this. Since we got back from our holiday hiatus, we have had an awful lot of focus towards the UFO phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just because there has just been so much coming out since the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And now we've gone from, I've seen the comments online that we've suddenly gone from obsession over Tic Tac UFOs to floating balls in the sky.
Well, everybody likes floating balls. That didn't come out very well, did it?
I know.
What's wrong with some floating balls?
That kind of reminds me of the last time we were on with Brian and Lex, and all y'all were starting to talk about the World Cup, and I'm just like playing on my phone.
Lex does like to play with his balls, though. I will say that.
No, not Lex, Alejandro.
Brian, he's into that kind of thing. He's always playing with his balls.
Yeah, no, he showed a few of his videos of him playing with his balls on here. Remember?
That's right. I mean, he's been to a few places, and he plays with them in the most unusual places. I mean, it's always in a dark place.
He's got to be a spectrophiliac.
Yeah, that's flash away, the two big balls flashing away. But he's into that kind of thing,
do you realize what I just said, Chris?
Yes, I did actually.
A spectrophiliac?
What is a spectrophiliac for us uneducated people?
Someone who has a sexual attraction or a fetish about having sex with ghosts or gets aroused by images in a mirror. Well, Brian was a hairdresser.
That's right, he was a hairdresser. And maybe when he was doing somebody's hair, he was like doing poses behind them and stuff like that. You do know he's going to say it is after this airs next week. You don't know. He is going to say it is.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
That's why I've been starting to delay the
I guess there's a week.
the official.
Can run away and hide?
I've also been delaying the actual release of the episode by an hour on the video channels, so that way when we get done recording here, we can go actually talk to the audience. That even though it says premiere, still acts like it's alive.
Yeah. Anyway, we have one person watching us. Where's that? We're getting watched from
Twitch.
Hello,
people getting
Twitch
twitchy.
user. Who is you?
Anyway, so when it comes to the UFO phenomenon, there's also been a lot of news coming about with the James Webb Telescope.
Oh yeah,
as well as a lot of chatter about there being some nasty cataclysm being right around the corner.
I think there's something going to happen. Everybody thinks it's got to be nuclear war, but I think it's got to be something.
I was about to say,
didn't
they officially put the doomsday clock to? Wasn't it? I thought it was down to 10.
No, it's 90 seconds to midnight.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to enjoy the show and all of our previous episodes. We hope you get a laugh, because who knows, maybe it could be your last.
I would just like to say, for anyone that's watching this in the future world after the devastating apocalyptic events that take place in 2023 to 2024, whatever time you are, I thank you very much, and remember, hit that subscribe button.
Even though we may be gone and to our other bodies and have to fight battles on other worlds.
But when the reptilians come out the ground to take the Earth, on the flat Earth, they'll conquer it. Because we're getting into the flat Earth thing again here. I couldn't resist it.
If the Earth is flat, where are the reptilians hiding?
That's very true. That is very true. That, of course, that's right. Our episode will be airing last week, the now, on our other channel.
It'll be airing towards the end of the hour, because, like I said, try to get it to where we can actually see what people are commenting and hopefully address any dumb remarks that come up.
Well, I really want to interview a flat earther, because it's like a passion in my life. I want to interview a flat earther because I just want to know what runs through their brain.
I gotta wonder it too.
One particle, just floating about.
I've got to wonder it too, because it's just, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't understand most of it.
So, what strange things did the James Webb Telescope pick up?
Well, lately, it's actually been picking up new exoplanets that could potentially be very Earth-like.
Mm-hmm.
As well as
surrounded. Yeah. I think
there's also different. No, we're definitely surrounded, without a doubt.
Yeah.
The thing is, part of the reason why I wanted to try to go into these types of news articles is because we actually have a guest that's going to be joining us next week, who actually talks about these things being sort of precursors to major events, including the grand reveal for basically that we are not alone in the universe, especially the James Webb Telescope. And I also find, and the reason why I focus on this is because this person has an almost perfect track record when it comes to the stuff she puts out.
Yeah. Do you want to tell everybody who it is?
I don't know. I was going to try to say before we went on, considering the types of issues that we had last time, where for some odd reason she couldn't hear me. She couldn't hear me, but could hear you. So I'm having to physically type messages in the chat. Yeah, no, she doesn't understand what you're saying, but she loves your accent.
See, that's
she's physically said that.
I don't know.
I was like, I was curious if we would have those issues if we didn't necessarily advertise it before we recorded it. You know what I mean?
That's a good idea. Yeah. But I mean, there's been some movies that's actually portrayed that exact same thing. the James Webb Telescope. You ever seen the film? And I know it's a mad film. It's an alien film, and it's called Battleship.
Yep.
And it starts off where it's a big telescope kind of thing, and they found an exoplanet, and they transmit a signal to it. And then a couple of months later, there's an alien invasion because they've picked up the signal.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this is the government's way of saying, "Oh yeah, there's planets out there like Earth, right? Oh yeah, oh yes, there's planets out there like Earth." Because then, if the aliens do invade, they'll be able to say, "Oh, see, we told you there was Earth-like planets out there."
In a way, I can understand what you're saying. It could be their way of still trying to control the narrative. It's something that they've been trying to do for quite some time, but quite frankly, the discussion has shifted so much when it comes to UFOs and life on other planets, and hell, even when it comes to the afterlife.
Oh
to
god,
where it seems like every single party you would expect to have some sort of doubt. Doctors, police officers, lawyers, therapists. A lot of
I think we're going
the
to need a few
paradigm is
therapies
shifting.
after the aliens visit, to be honest with you.
The paradigm is shifting completely, and I'm saying this because I've seen it personally, that some therapists I've gone to deal with my issues are now fans of the show. Hi!
Look, I will say this. I was talking to a medium the other day there, and he was telling us, I'll not say what his name was, but he was telling us that when he was younger and he went and told everybody about him seeing spirits and stuff like that, he was locked away in a mental asylum. And just a couple of years ago, he went to see a therapist, and he said, "I'm seeing ghosts. I'm seeing strange creatures and all that." And the therapist turned around to him and went, "Yep, I believe 100% in the afterlife."
Yeah.
So it's changing. It is changing. And if you notice with the UFOs, they've changed the name to UAPs now, because if you see UFO, you're going to think of the crazy flying saucers and all that kind of stuff, right? That's always been made by the make believe and stuff like that. But if you see UAP, it sounds it's more like perfect. You see where I'm coming from here, Dakota?
Well, here's the thing. People don't really seem to realize when it comes to the term UFO, that is not supposed to be an identifying marker. It's supposed to, all it's supposed to be is that it's a thing flying about in the air and you have no clue what the fuck it is. I mean, just kind of as an example, there's one day, I was just a kid walking home from school, and all of a sudden I see this morphing thing in the air, and I'm just like, what the fuck is that?
What was that, a bag?
That's a UFO. Then eventually it started coming down a little bit more. I realized, oh, that's a grocery bag. No longer a UFO.
See, that's the thing. I mean, there is stuff out there, ladies and gentlemen, that can't be explained. There's UFOs out there that cannot be explained. But then there's ones that you get in TikTok that are totally, absolutely, completely and utterly fake, but people believe it. I like to scroll through TikTok. It's like a wee hobby I've got,
Yeah, no, he's
because
gotten obsessive with it lately.
I post my own stuff on TikTok, guys, what I think's kind of legit. But there's been some that I've came across, and I'm like, oh my god! And I like to read the chat, and some are like, oh, I always knew ET was real. This is absolutely amazing. And you can clearly see it's computer generated. But then when you get a real photo, a real UFO, an alien UFO, they're like, oh, that's fake. The camera's shite.
Okay, well, here's the thing. And it's something that I know our friend Lex has tried to bring up several times.
Yeah.
Even though the average person for a few $100s could get a camera that has several times better quality than than what we used to go for the moon landings.
Yep.
And yet these things of like Bigfoot and UFO somehow still blurry. Granted, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. People who say that, I know for a fact, don't exactly realize how these phones work, how these cameras work. They're trying to focus on an object far away that they can't necessarily do.
Yeah, I know for a fact that I'm an Apple user, right? Just hear me out here. I know, like mentioning iPhones and stuff like that. The iPhone's a great piece of technology, right? Absolutely amazing. But one thing it's absolute crap at is focusing at things far away. I've got the latest iPhone. It focuses in things around about me, and it's absolutely beautiful with clear images, right? But see, when you take a picture of it, like say I seen a UFO and I take a picture of it. See, when you zoom up with your finger and enlarge the photo, it's all pixelated.
Well, yeah, it's going to be pixelated.
Yeah.
You also have to realize part of the reason why. Now, this is obviously assuming that the person with or without glasses has at least 20/20 vision. Okay.
Yeah.
They say the numbers could be off in my head, but they say if you were to put a resolution on perfect human eyesight, 20/20 vision, that would be about 200, 300 pixels.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. I don't quote me exactly. I have like a Samsung Galaxy A53. It's a 64 megapixel camera.
Yeah.
Takes awesome photos. And that's why they say, oh, the moon looks a lot bigger compared to the eye, whereas if you try to take a picture of it on the camera, it's also because of how the lens is on the camera actually collect the light from the image and how it gets saved.
Yes. I'm into photography and I have got some SLR cameras there, right? The difference between a phone and an SLS camera, LR camera is, right, a phone's sensor isn't as good as like an SLR camera. The sensor on an SLR camera is more advanced. Right? I know people that look at the moon all the time. They've spent like 20, 30,000 pounds on top of the range telescopes with lenses, and they see UFOs flying across the moon, right? And people, they put it on their channel. I'm not saying any names, but they'll put it on their channel, and people are like, "Oh, that's fake. That's fake. That's made up. That's fake." But then you'll get what I kind of get is the people that fake the stuff and they believe it, and you can clearly see it's utter shite. You can see that's my Scottish coming out there. You can clearly see it's just shit.
I know, and this is kind of people are probably wondering, okay, what the hell do cell phones have to do with exoplanets and James Webb Telescope?
Yeah,
the James Webb Telescope, the level of sophistication behind it. The Hubble telescope is basically like a flip phone camera compared to, like, say, my Galaxy A53.
Yeah,
which would be, and now granted, NASA did just recently mention that a few of the gadgets on the James Webb are starting to malfunction.
Oh,
gee,
what a coincidence!
What a little coincidence.
Yeah,
but you got to admit, if you follow it online, the images coming from this thing are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah,
and just the level of detail from it. I mean, there is an image of the moon Titan, which is a center of a lot of attention when it comes to the UFO thing, because even NASA admits that the ingredients for complex life to develop are on Titan. The analogy they use is like all the ingredients to make a cake are already mixed and in the oven. They're just waiting for something to come popping out.
Here's something that I noticed the other day there, and this is about the ISS, right? I used to watch the live camera footage for the ISS quite a lot, right? I just found it relaxing, right? Have you watched it lately?
Seems like it's glitching out a lot more.
It's not just the fact that it's glitching out. Have you noticed that NASA's added something to it? Stars. They've actually added stars. They weren't there before. Now, either that camera's get better, right? And the people will be like, oh, the reason we can't see the stars is because we're in the dome and the Earth's flat. No, it's because of the light shining off the Earth.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why we can't see the stars. But they've actually added the stars.
Now, I was just gonna say, people don't realize it's like, oh, say like the moon landing photos, and that's gonna be another completely different discussion right there. But the reason why, say, like, there's no images of stars from the moon landing photos is
Yeah.
because there's too much light coming off of the surface of the moon itself. It's like
Yes.
if you live in a rural area, not a lot of pollution, chances are on a clear, sunny night, you're going to see some absolutely beautiful stars. Whereas you go to a bigger city,
Yeah.
you might get one or two.
Yeah.
If you're lucky.
Where I stay, there's no much light pollution. And I can actually go out in my back garden because I'm quite rural in Scotland.
Mhm.
And I can actually see the Milky Way. And you can actually follow satellites. Well, you think they're satellites, but then again, it might not be a satellite. It
Yeah.
might not be a satellite, it might be something else. But the technology is getting better. But you got to remember, see, this is what I found out too. See, when NASA, when they take like images of the Earth, they enhance the images of the Earth. Did you know that, Dakota? That they throw a wee bit of an extra cloud here, and we'll put some stars in there, and they'll make it more vibrant to make the planet, to make you go, wow. But it's not really like that.
It's they utilize time lapse photos. They it's kind of like the panoramic photo function you get on your phones. It works very similar to where if something is moving awfully weird, you can get some weird anomalies in the photo without even realizing. Now, speaking of some of the photos from James Webb, let's say like earlier, there's this link right here. It's a shortened version to NASA revealing the first Earth-like exoplanet that James Webb Telescope actually spotted.
Yeah.
Perfect conditions to have life almost identical to that on Earth. Now, if we actually look at this little photo from James Webb, we have images that it took of Saturn's moon Titan.
That's quite interesting, that, because Titan doesn't look like what it's been portrayed as, does it?
Yeah. The Hubble, all it could necessarily see was kind of a bright orange ball. Whereas the number of lenses that are utilized with the James Webb Telescope and how far it can actually see,
I mean,
we actually see what looks like blurry images of Earth.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually quite interesting because it's got like an atmosphere and land.
Oh, there's atmosphere, there's lakes on there. But you also got to consider it said that on Titan, the conditions there, if you were to strap like a wingsuit to a human person, the average human can fly like a bird on Titan.
But see, this is interesting. How do they know this? How do they actually know this? How do they know the wind speeds? Because that's something that, I mean, you're in space. Obviously, there's no air, oxygen in space. So how do they know what wind speeds are going? Is it probes they're sent, or is it? How do they know these things?
It's details that come from probes, and they can actually tell the composition of like the atmosphere. I can't remember the exact name of it, but essentially what they do is they take images and they will spread the light out through a rainbow. And what you'll see with this is that there's going to be black segments in that rainbow. Which actually correspond to whatever chemicals are in the air.
What's the is it a moon or a planet? Is it Europa? I'm thinking about. What's the one that's completely covered in ice?
There's a couple different ones, but Europa's one of them.
Because they say that you think about the core of the Earth, which will come to shortly, actually, because we've actually got a story in that. But you see that ice ball planet, right, has got a molten core. So hence there should be volcanoes underneath that ice, underneath the water. So
they
it makes
fully
you
speculate
wonder.
that there's been details that speculate that there may be volcanic eruptions on Europa.
So it makes you, what kind of life is there?
And that's another thing. speaking of Europa, that's one of Jupiter's moons. Another James Webb find is some heat anomalies above the atmosphere of Jupiter, where our dear friend Elena Denon says that there is actually an outpost.
Yeah. See, I find
ladies
that
and
very,
gentlemen, Elena's the one coming next week.
yeah. That's for the CIA that's listening. They can set stuff up in that. No, I've sent you, Dakota, the article if you want to post it in the chat. I'm about to read about the Earth's inner core. I was going to do that in a cool voice. I mean, I'll read this out the title out first. This is from the Evening Standard. It's the Earth's inner core has started spinning in the opposite direction, according to new research. It seems the Earth's core will change direction again in the 2040s, according to new research, which I find very interesting. I mean, they say the Earth went through this a few times. I mean, as you were saying before the live, could that cause the poles to flap?
In theory, because you got to realize the core of the Earth, the way it spins, is actually what generates the magnetic field of Earth. So if all of a sudden that thing stops spinning, like they're seeing,
well, the film the core, won't it?
Eventually, that charge it's going to dissipate if it doesn't spin back up directly. But they also believe it's spinning in the opposite direction.
Well, it says here
this affects the magnetic poles. This affects the tectonic plates. This can even affect volcanic activity.
See, it says here a new study has found that the Earth's inner core may have started to spin in the opposite direction. Researchers published in the journal Nature Geology, where could I pronounce that there, could lead to further understanding of how the process inside the planet could affect the surface, including the length of day. Because the length of days are meant to be getting longer. I mean, it's the earthquakes one that worries me. I mean, all you need is an earthquake in Yellowstone to cause that to go off. All you need is a massive earthquake in Los Angeles to sink half it in the sea.
This is a study that actually comes from China's Peking University. Now, they say the last time that we've seen something like this was easily in the 1940s, and that the Earth's core goes through these cycles where it will seem like it stopped spinning. They say it actually stopped spinning and started going the other way about 2009.
Right.
So, how do we know?
I mean, what happened there?
Accidentally hit a button. My fat fingers. It doesn't take much. Anyway, like I said, it's saying that the next time we might see something like this happen is about 2040, because about 35-year-long cycles that this goes through.
I mean, a lot of people out there on the internet have got this into their heads that the polar slap, right, the north to south, south to north, and all that is going at the pole flap, as it's called, is going to cause like the scenes for 2012, the movie. That's fictionalized, guys. Things like that are not going to happen, guys. It's not going to happen. But I'm not saying it might cause earthquakes. It might cause earthquakes. I mean, the San Andreas fault, it's ready to go. It is ready to go. They actually speculate it could go sometime soon. And I'm not wanting to scare you, but if that goes and it's a, say, 8 in the Richter scale or a 9 in the Richter scale, Los Angeles, San Francisco has got to be decimated completely.
Majority of California, if it gets hits hard enough.
I mean, there is mediums out there that have speculated that there's got to be a great catastrophe. Oh my God, can I pronounce that?
Catastrophe.
It's a Scottish accent, guide. I have to get my translator here to do it. Some of the United States has got to slide into the sea. I mean, have you heard about this? They think that some of the land is going to flood.
Yeah, there's a saying over here that if the San Andreas fault line goes, Idaho, where I live, is going to be beachfront property.
There you go. Worth a fortune.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how true this is, and what worries me is if it sets off Yellowstone. Because if
Bye.
that sets off, that is well, I will definitely be looking for a new co-host because Dakota will be like, was it Pompeii? I'll see us running down the
Worse.
street with a big fireball coming after you. I mean, it would cause the globe to cool down and cause a new ice age.
Now, this is actually something that we talked a little bit about on the show before.
Yeah.
When it comes to the magma chambers underneath Yellowstone, basically how much magma it can actually hold and would likely come up in the event of an eruption are like 10 times the original estimates. That thing goes off, I'm in the blast zone.
Oh, yeah.
So if all of a sudden you see me drop off, yeah.
Oh.
Comedic timing, that's all. But
I thought the CIA had got you there.
Basically, unless ETs come and get me just in time, I'd be a goner. And you also got to realize that would be an extinction level event. They think that immediately after eruption, 1/3 of the world's population would be gone if Yellowstone were to go off. This is also a situation that is believed to be akin to what happened to the dinosaurs. It's not necessarily the asteroid that killed them off; it's the mess that was in the air.
That's the ash. I mean, volcanic ash is one of the most destructive. Is one of the most destructive particles you can get. That gets into a jet engine, but it gets into the gas turbine of a helicopter, or it even gets sucked into your car. It will kill it.
I mean, I was maybe like 11, 12 years old when this happened. There was a volcano in Washington that went off, not too severe. They got everybody out in time. That ash fell over us to where for almost a month straight, you just going about your normal day. You go, hop in the shower at the end of the day. It looked like you were playing in dirt. That was how much shit was in the air.
I mean, a lot of people think this is stupid, right? But Scotland, we actually had to shut our airports for 2 days because a volcano went off in Iceland and the ash was blown towards Scotland. And people are like, oh, it's only ash, it'll go through the engine. See if that hits the gas turbine inside those engines, it'll destroy the engine.
Oh,
and the plane will just drop for the sky and burst into flames and kill everybody on board.
You ever hear how, say, kind of stepping into the field of forensic investigation, how they figured out a good way to see if somebody died in a fire? How they managed to figure that out?
No, I don't.
It was actually a Chinese professor that figured this out. There was a fire set and there was a man inside, and he realized, wait a sec, why does this person not really have a lot of ash around their mouth? So what he actually did is burned one pig alive.
Yeah.
Killed 2 pigs, burned one of them alive and killed another. He realized reason they realized that the ash and soot and all that was getting breathed in, and maybe you have perfect health, but you don't really have any breathing issues. That stuff builds up. Maybe you've seen like old photos of like New York where they're spraying out the sides of buildings because of all the smoke from the factories is building up. That does that shit to your lungs. Vaping does that shit to your lungs.
Oh yeah, I know. I mean, that's actually a good point because you'll be able to cut you open basically and look at your lungs, and if one of the lungs was covered in soot, they'll know that you really died in that fire because you're breathing all the toxins and the plastic and stuff like that. Whereas if a body was dumped in a building, then satellite, when they done the autopsy, there's no soot inside the lungs.
And yeah, it's one of those things where every fire season where if there's major wildfires out in California and people are losing their lives, here in Idaho, you have to stop and think. You could very well be breathing in somebody's entire any evidence of someone's existence you could be breathing in from their physical bodies
Yeah.
to any photos of any of their possessions, any family photos that they may have lost in the fire.
Yeah.
You got to realize it does a lot more damage. What we're talking, this may sound like doomsday prepper, and that's never going to happen. And you're like, don't get too comfortable. Shit's about to go down.
I mean, the planet's getting warmer and warmer and warmer. Those fires in America were terrible last year. Absolutely terrible.
Oh yeah.
Can you imagine what they're bringing this year?
Let's see. Here's the thing, Chris. If I'm not mistaken, the official budget when it comes to fire safety, we're dipping into almost 5 years into the future worth of funds because they've been getting that bad and that frequent.
Well, did you see what happened in the UK last year? That heat wave we had, it was like 38 Celsius like for a week consecutive.
Yeah, that was around the time frame we had those there was those llamas that busted out of there for alpacas,
right.
rather.
That's
they busted out of their farm and went for a beach day at Loch Ness.
People thought it was Loch Ness Monster, but what I'm saying is they reckon there was this field and it was dry and it was next to this little village, and they don't know yet how the fire started, but the fire started in the field. It set a house on fire, and before you knew it, 10 houses were on fire, and before you knew it, all the shops up the street were on fire. I think it was half the town was burnt down.
Speaking of which, a lot of the major fires that started last year, there's one family out of California who are going to have to pay almost billions of dollars in restitution because one of the worst fires in California history was started because of their gender reveal party.
Well, I'm sure they'll be able to afford what, 20 billion or something like that.
Yeah. It's like they're going to have to pay for that for the rest of their lives. They're held liable for everything from the houses lost to the expenses the firemen had to use and all of the equipment they had to bring in order to put that shit out.
Yeah. I do think the Earth is heading. We are changing, but we've got climate change, which they say that happens, right? But I do think the Earth does go through cycles. Yeah, I do say we'll have to do something about the pollution levels and the plastic and all this kind of stuff. Do you notice my internet going weird there when I mentioned that?
I noticed your volume actually went down, like your mic physically got unplugged and you were coming off of a webcam or something.
No, it can't happen because I've totally disabled.
That's what I'm describing. That's what it sounded like. It's instead of having kind of a professional mic to work with, it sounded like your audio was coming off of a webcam.
That was weird, because it was like my image just changed. That was quite.
And I found it funny that my image started focusing out.
See, ladies and gentlemen, strange things happen in this show. And remember, guys, if you want to come on the show, we've got a forum that you can fill on if you want to come on and get interviewed. Dakota, I'm sure I'll post that in the link, in the chat. I mean, it's just jumping back onto this kind of climate stuff and all that. I do think a lot of this climate stuff, some of it's made up, and the reason I say that is they're wanting the UK and they're wanting America to be like zero free emissions, right? But what about China that's burning coal, right? Or Russia that's burning coal, or North Korea that's burning coal, right? And they don't sign up for it. I mean, it's the Earth goes through cycles. The Earth goes through cycles, guys. At one time, see I actually was talking to a geologist one day in my village. Now I live where we get a lot of snow and a lot of rain. Right, it's cold. Right.
Oh yeah.
About maybe 100,000, 200,000 years ago, before the Ice Age, well before the Ice Age, Scotland was a subtropical climate. Right. And America was basically a desert. Right. Look at it now. The Earth will change in 10 million years from now, and the human race will only probably be here. That will only probably be here. Well,
you also got to consider. I love how we've gone from a James Webb Space Telescope episode to climate change.
I know.
But
It's
I promise
been-
it all does tie in, ladies and
It
gentlemen.
does
So
all
just give it a minute. Egypt, throughout its history, you got to remember, by the time of Cleopatra, there was already ancient Egyptian archaeologists trying to figure out the history of ancient Egypt. They say about every 5,000 years ago, the Sahara Desert shifts between a desert to a jungle. Everything thawing out in Antarctica, as an example. Antarctica is not just ice; it actually used to be jungle. So there could very well be millions of discoveries underneath that ice that we just haven't been able to get to before.
Yeah.
And Chris is right. The Earth does have changes, but just like the human body, if it has a foreign invader, sometimes what seems like those changes could easily be a protection system coming in. I mean, I hate to quote a fucking Godzilla movie out of all things, but
no.
Human race could be the latest infection that the Earth is trying to fight off.
I mean, I will say this: we have been tampering with the world's weather for a long time. We've been geoengineering the skies, and we all know how that's done. I'm not even going to mention the word aircraft and stuff because it'll probably get this flagged. We've been fiddling with things too much, right? And we do need to stop burning oil at a great rate. But look, guys, the technology's there for cars. Did you ever hear about the technology that was there? There was in the 1960s a Japanese scientist built an engine that could get 600 miles on like a gallon of fuel, and he just disappeared. Imagine that.
In the 1930s, we already had electric cars. We had cars that ran off of hemp.
I didn't know that.
The actual structure of the car, the actual frame of the car was built on hemp, and it was supposed to be several times stronger than steel.
See, we should really try and get somebody on to talk about this one next. There's a lot of history hidden in this world, and as you're saying, the telescope, right? You think of all the other worlds out there right now that's maybe taking pictures of that are going through the same changes as Earth. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, you heard of we've talked about the Roswell crash and how there was actually supposed to have been a survivor, right? The nurse that allegedly had. We've talked about it, that. Apparently, the Roswell crash was the result of kids going on a joyride and something fucked up the ship.
Yeah,
and there was actually a survivor.
Yeah.
Well, there was a nurse who had full-on conversations with the survivor. This is gotta be something. This is a completely different show altogether.
Yeah.
But the way that it was essentially an alien grade, they referred to it as an EBE, trying to sound all fancy, extra biological entity, for those who wonder what that actually means. They said the reason why there's so much fascination with the Earth is that its position in the galaxy, where we're basically on the outer rim.
Yeah.
We are technically considered a zoo planet.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
It's only for like wildlife sanctuaries and criminals, and that's something that's been speculated for some time.
A prison planet.
It said and there's some mediums who say that the Earth, before humans really came about the time of dinosaurs, as a matter of fact, was used like the British used to use Australia.
No.
Oh wait, but Australia doesn't exist.
That's right.
Little jab at flat earthers.
Yeah.
Nevertheless.
And there's a giant ice wall.
Yeah.
You can get over it if you've got a ladder.
Like I said before several times on the show, even if you don't necessarily believe in the extraterrestrial phenomenon, there's a lot of genuine lessons that can come from it. Take better care of the Earth, not do so much with waste, not trust our fucking political leaders.
Oh God, no.
For all these kids that are trying to bring in, socialism because it works so well in other countries.
Yeah.
Fuck off, you morons.
I know. The world now, guys, is totally changed. I mean, we could do an all new show, and we could do a show in the way the world's changed in the last 5-10 years, right? And I think it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until there's an event that makes us change our minds. And that event might be, I don't think it's got to be disclosure. That yes, they're coming, and yes, I think they will try and help us, but we need to change our ways, guys. We really do, because we're killing each other. We're greedy. All we care about is a technology and the latest this and the latest that. I mean, honestly, Dakota, if they to announce tomorrow, we'll found a planet with the James Webb Telescope, right? And it's pre-industrial. It's an industrial world. Let's just say like 1950s, 1960s, and we've received transmissions for it, right? Do you think it would change anything on Earth, the way everything's gone?
Well, yes and no.
Right? What's your opinion?
I mean, Mr. TikTok obsessed. There's a few people that brought up this argument where United States governments and other governments of the world, they're basically flat out saying that, yeah, something's going on. We're not 100% sure of everything, but something is going on. There is something out there. Something is flying those unknown aerial phenomenon. Something is piloting them, and that's in government documents since the 1940s. There's other documents that also say that there's been transmission from reptilians on Mars.
Yeah.
And yes, it would kind of change the paradigm, but the situation is, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, don't you find it funny as this such a life-changing announcement that we are not alone in the universe is supposed to be literally within the next couple years.
Yeah.
It could very well be that close. All of a sudden, we're having issues with food supply.
Yep.
The diesel supply. With their
Yep.
You want to cause mass panic? You cut off the basic needs of civilization to where they won't focus on something like that.
Yeah.
They're going to be too concerned about making it day to day.
Look, here's a question for everybody that's listening, and please write below what your opinion is. If the James Webb Telescope tomorrow picked up a world, right, and say it was highly advanced, right, and they knew it was highly advanced, do you think they would release that information? Do you think they would really release it, Dakota? I don't think they would. I think they would just brush it on the carpet and say, "Oh, we can't visit it anyway, so we'll just leave it there."
Here's the thing. People automatically try to assume that these arguments are black and white.
Yeah.
That, everybody in the CIA is bad. Everybody in the FBI is bad.
No.
All the reptilians are bad. All the draconians are bad. There's a point that I'm making here.
Yeah.
There's people inside NASA who are being told to shut up that don't want to shut up. And that's the reason why it's suddenly taking longer for them to cut off the feed whenever something shows up on camera. There's FBI agents that want to shut down a lot of the sex trade, but the politicians behind it are stopping them.
No. I mean, talking about telescopes, remember that what happened? Was it 2016, 17? And it was somewhere in the United States, and it was a telescope, and it was raided by, was it the FBI? Or was it the CIA? Who was that?
I know which one you're talking about.
I mean, they sent in 3 Black Hawk helicopters, about 200 guys and machine guns and helmets on and stuff like that, because they said the guy had a dodgy computer with bad things on it.
Here's the thing. It's also been well known, and Chris and I have actually dealt with a situation where we've seen someone try to claim that certain things that were found were not of his doing.
Yeah.
And he is spending jail time right now.
Yeah.
Possibly going to get out very soon. We don't know. We've washed our hands of that.
Yeah.
Well, knowledge it happened, but anyway. Yes, that stuff like that is a tactic there. And unfortunately, when it comes to the sex trade and all of this type of stuff that goes on, cam girls actually have to take suicide prevention courses because of the number of people they have come on to have a show before they go to take their own lives.
Yeah.
That's unfortunately, this is one of those things where there's too many variables to really know the entire picture. And right now, the thing that often pisses me off about these communities trying to come together is that they can't focus on all these variables. They can barely focus on 250 character limit on a Twitter message.
Yeah.
Yet they're trying to solve mysteries of the universe. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, what I found interesting about that telescope that was rated in the United States is it was a sun observatory.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did they pick something up that they shouldn't have?
That's the speculation, is that right as they started seeing something, that's when they noticed that they were getting raided.
Yeah.
Now, then they also say that there is gigantic ass motherships hanging about the sun. And there's actually video released by NASA where there's coronal mass ejections where basically a bunch of matter gets shot off the sun. All of a sudden,
and
there's something. It's like all of a sudden it starts bending around an object.
That's the
and yes, it does have like a natural curve to it.
Yeah.
Did you know that's shot up? But
that's the video that I put out? Remember on my TikTok?
That's
the one that got 180,000 views. Yeah, it's
that's not that's the only one. But that's the thing though. Yes, there's going to be a natural curve to it, and that just happens in nature. But the thing is, it perfectly outlines some type of circle from the perspective of the video. And they say that there's actually been several coronal mass ejections within the last 7 years that hit the Earth that should have knocked us to the Stone Age. What happened? Did something save our asses? Now, mind you, the level of technological sophistication and just the size that it would take of something to be able to take that type of hit could look like a planet in itself.
Yeah. But maybe I mean, we could go down the rabbit hole with this. I mean, we could say that the moon's they say the moon's hollow, right? And there's bases on the moon. What happens if the moon's there as like a giant shield or something? So it maybe puts something out around about the Earth to protect us. We don't know.
And they also see that there could have been several Earth-ending asteroids that should have hit us.
Yeah.
But they believe the gravitational pull of Jupiter misdirected it, or just flat out took the hit for us.
It only
you got to realize, technically, because of the size of Jupiter in itself, the center of the solar system is not the sun.
No,
mind you, because of the size of Jupiter in itself, the center of the solar system is like just barely off of the sun's atmosphere.
Yeah. I mean, if you go to other star systems, like the James Webb Telescope's been doing, do you know there's suns out there that are 100 times bigger than our sun?
Oh, yeah.
There's stars out there that they reckon there's 1,000 times bigger than our sun.
Mm-hmm.
Even bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's impossible. I think, and I'm 100% sure that the visit is. I'm 100% sure that our governments know. And I think they've been in contact with them for that long, but they just don't know how to break it to us all.
Because here's the thing. There's a gentleman I've been trying to get a hold of to have as a guest on the show, and he's real big into UFOs.
Yeah.
His family apparently has government ties, and one of the things he brought out is that there are people in the CIA who are fully well aware that there are UFOs, that there is life out there. They want to break it. But the thing is, they are genuinely afraid that because such a revelation would completely topple our understanding of the universe, of religions, of the very things that many people built their own identities around will get toppled.
Yeah.
They genuinely fear mass suicide events.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think disclosure will happen, but it's going to be a wee while yet. I think it's going to take its time till we've got quite a lot of people, 60% or 70% of the world's woke up.
Here's the thing. And kind of going back to the observatory raid that we were just talking about, people may be wondering, well, okay, if that happens and if it is UFOs, how the hell would the government know? You've heard me talk about declassified documents on the FBI vault, and anybody can go on there to check me on this. One of the first documents on the very first page that says that people that have been tasked with observing this phenomenon fully believe that there could be some sort of radar system put together to not necessarily pick up the craft themselves, but the environmental anomalies that are caused by their interactions with our world. So electromagnetic discharges. Basically, to kind of give a pop culture reference, the radar, Thor: The Dark World, the type of radar that Natalie Portman had managed to put together because she was trying to look for Thor coming back to Earth. It's something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's patents for technology meant to block psychic ability.
Yeah.
Essentially shields.
Yeah.
And there's people that claim that, they've astral traveled, tried to go into Area 51 to see what's going on, but something zapped them.
Yeah.
It's been there. It's out there for people to look at. It's just that they realize that nobody bothers to fucking read.
Exactly. But this is the problem before we go, because we're at the end of the hour. But a bit, you've got to understand that a lot of the population are more concerned about watching TV, the Kardashians or something like that, and watching Facebook and playing Boom Beach and playing Clash of Clans and playing all these mad games. I'll admit I do play Boom Beach. But come on, look, I put me off my stroke there. I get lost there. But anyway, I think even if the aliens did come down in mass, right, it would take a while. I could take a couple of days before everybody realised, because it'd just be too. Because see if the media doesn't play it.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. All right. Elena Denon, trust me, I can say this with everything that's going on, that is. I'm going to slip her a couple of links just to make sure we have a live audience, because that is not going to be a show to miss, because there's so much there. She says that with the James Webb Telescope, that's supposed to help announce to the media that the conditions for Earth-like planets are several times closer and very real than we realize.
Yeah.
That the announcement will come out that, yes, we are aware of life on other planets. And when that revelation comes, the most human-looking species are going to start showing up. The ones who would look indistinguishable from the average person here on Earth. Now, mind you, any planet, just dealing with any sort of environment on Earth can affect evolutionary traits. There's a tribe who live in huts out in the middle of the ocean who have actually developed the ability to naturally see underwater. There's adaptations like that happen on Earth all the time. Amplify the potential mutations to take place on a scale of infinity.
Yeah.
There's gonna be all sorts of things out there that we just don't realize.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
yes, they say that there's small little areas where there's several human-like species coming together. Or if you're a Marvel fan and saw Captain Marvel, you could think like Chris and think that this little 8-toed cat that just crawled in my lap is actually a Flerken.
Oh god, it's a Flerken. It's a Flerken.
God, I hope she doesn't decide to eat me then.
She'll scratch your eye out now and you'll have to get an eye patch.
Yeah, I already have an eye patch in case my Bell's palsy ever acts up.
Yeah.
Because it tends to get photosensitive when that happens.
Yeah.
But nevertheless,
yeah.
I've said it before several times. The information, we already know we're not alone in the universe.
Yeah.
They're just banking on people not reading. And kind of going to the whole Kardashians thing. It's been a distraction method since the ancient Roman times to put entertainment out there. Because people want to focus on the entertainment to distract themselves from the stress of everyday life.
It's like what's going on now in Europe with wars and stuff like that. It's a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
And then it makes you wonder, what's that a distraction from? Oh, there's so much going on.
Here's an example that I find kind of funny. Let's kind of go into the Jeffrey. I know we're going over our usual time, but just to kind of give you something to think about, ladies and gentlemen. The Jeffrey Epstein case, the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, still going on, still trying to dance around the fucking client list. I find it funny that as that trial starts up, now this could have easily just been a coincidence that worked out. Right around that same time, the whole mess and everybody in the media was focusing on the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial.
Yeah.
The irony behind that. Have you ever seen the deleted scene from Pirates of the Caribbean where it basically explains how Jack got labeled as a pirate?
No, I've no, but I don't watch things like that. But when you go, please tell.
What's wrong with you? Anyway, in the deleted scene from the movie, because they realized anybody who actually paid attention to what they were saying, that would make the movie very depressing.
Yeah.
The reason why Jack Sparrow was labeled as a pirate, now mind you, terms like outlaw and pirate, they weren't like gang affiliations. Those were legally based terms to basically say, we can't deal. We don't want to deal with this person anymore. If you shoot him, we're not going to you're not going to go to prison if you kill him. Basically what it is. Jack Sparrow was labeled as a pirate because he freed slaves.
Yeah.
And I find it just a little ironic that right as the Ghislaine Maxwell case is going off, they're focusing on Johnny Depp.
Yes.
Because several Disney cruises stopped at Epstein's Island.
Yeah.
Why was there did you just see that?
What?
There was like some that just flew from here to here.
I seen something, but I couldn't tell what it was. I couldn't tell exactly what it was. I seen something move.
It was like some sort of glimmer right here. That was creepy.
Naked Bigfoot coming to hunt you. You know.
I always wondered
it's Jeffrey Epstein's ghost coming to get you.
All right, Epstein, start spilling your guts. Come on. You're dead. What can they do to you?
It's what will they do to you when you find out?
It's kind of like the spirit box attempt I did with fucking JFK, and all of a sudden those tapes started malfunctioning.
Something? I think we should make a show of this. I mean, we could get an expert on to talk about the Illuminati and the secret orders in Hollywood and stuff and that kind of thing. I think that would be more fitting, you know. I mean, what's on the show tomorrow, Dakota?
Well, I was just thinking some sort of continuation, unless we find something else better.
Yeah. I'll search about tonight and see what I can find. You know.
Yeah.
But it's been a good night tonight. It really has been. So,
Not
do you have
awful.
any news, Dakota? Any strange news that you usually have news before we go off?
No, I think we'll hold off on that one just a little bit longer. But I will say this, ladies and gentlemen. You know, this is something that Chris has tried to tell me, and there's been others who tried to say, "Oh, you have to be invited." First off, if you're trying to get your message out there, and you don't already have some sort of connection, don't wait for miracles to happen. Get off your ass and get off your ass and help make the miracles come to you. So if you got something you're wanting to promote, you want to talk about, your ghost hunting group, a book you're releasing, a film project you're working on, it doesn't necessarily have to be anything paranormal. We're willing to. We want to make Bald and Bonkers a platform for everybody to be able to share their story without restriction or judgment.
Yeah.
So if you got something you want to talk about and you want to get our help, there's the form.
I know.
Just go. There's the form right there. Just fill it out. Pick a date that works for you, and we'll get you on a show.
And we'll see you all. Yeah, that's very true. And we'll see you all tomorrow night. Well, not really tomorrow night, but it'll be next week. But it'll be the night for us.
We'll see you next time. How about that?
That's better. Catch you later, guys. Take care and be safe.
Bye.